Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. Vanessa Dunn-Guyton, and I am so excited to be with here for another episode. I am the proud founder and executive director of Hush No More. Hush No More supports survivors when they're ready to come forward, to receive resources, to share their story, or just to have somebody to listen. We also provide free training in our community to different churches, youth groups, different organizations, because we believe that awareness plus knowledge equals prevention. And so we have another episode of Hush No More Champions, and I am so excited because we have the amazing LaTasha Jackson-MacDougle. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
I am so excited that you're here. And so we wanted to do an introduction, to do something different today. So we're going to play a video to introduce Ms. Jackson-MacDougle.
Awesome.
Shows Voice is a nonprofit organization. It actually started as a 5K team. When I was in college, I decided that I wanted to bring memory to the loss of my mom. And my mom's name was Cheryl. I did a full investigation by going to Fort Worth PD. In the process of that investigation, I discovered that my mom was in a very abusive relationship with my father, and ultimately he took her life in front of me and then killed himself. I also discovered that I witnessed a lot of the abuse. I suffered a lot of medical issues, and I decided, how can I use this pain that I'm feeling and be able to touch other children who are in similar situations? One of the places my mom got resources was at the Women's Center in Tarrant County. And I reached out to them and said, okay, you know what? I'm going to volunteer with them. And I started a 5K, me and about 5 other good friends. And we went and we did the 5K. And I said, okay, what more can I do? I started doing different things in the community. I started speaking. Other people have been asking me to share my story. And one day I just woke up and it was like God told me, Cheryl's Voice. And so I named the organization Cheryl's Voice. And at that time, it was not even really an organization. It was just a name to go attached to what I was doing. And eventually I was speaking at the University of Texas at Arlington, and a lady approached me and said, you need to be a nonprofit. I'm going to make that happen for you. And they made Cheryl's Voice a nonprofit. What we do with Cheryl's Voice is empower and encourage youth who have witnessed abuse and also, unfortunately, maybe even witnessed the murder-suicide or the murder of their parents. Also, we want to reach those families who are in situations who feel like they're staying in the relationship because of their children, or they don't feel like their children are going to be affected. We get them information, let them know that their children are affected and how they can help them before it gets too late, before they repeat that cycle. Cheryl's Voice is very big on breaking that cycle and connecting those families and those children with resources that are right here in Tarrant County. It's very important that they know that there are help and resources out there for them. That's what I do. I provide workshops of awareness and encouragement. I provide speaking engagements anywhere, whether it's sharing my story or it's giving a one-on-one on what domestic violence and teen dating violence is. It's very important to the community to be able to give that speaking engagement, provide those things to them. Growing up, I struggled a lot. On the outside, most people saw me and I was always happy and I got stressed, and I was in the plays and in the doing talent shows and just all these great things. I was in student council, and all really I was doing is covering the pain that I was in. And I'll never forget, Terry Crews did a speaking engagement and he talked about success is a warm place to hide. And that's exactly what I did with much of my life, is hide in that success. Even when I got to college, I really didn't even talk about the loss of my mom. I didn't talk about the struggles that I was having and the fear that I had every time a guy wanted to talk to me or be in a dating relationship. I was always paranoid that something would happen to me One, I want youth to understand there are healthy boundaries in a relationship. It's okay to acknowledge the pain. It's okay to acknowledge that there's something different about you. And now let's get to work. Let's start talking about trauma counseling. Let's start talking about the issues. Stop running away from the issue, because the reality is I learned the hard way that when you run from it, it's still going to be right there when you turn around. So I had to take a moment and dig myself out of the hole that I dug myself in. And so for me, with Cheryl's Voice, I want other youth, I want the families to be able to help them work on those things and know what resources out there. I want people to know what's available to them and use those resources because it's important. Unfortunately, due to the sins of my father, I suffered from several surgeries. I've had too many surgeries to even begin to count. From the day I was born, I had immediate surgery from the strain and the stress that my mother was under. By the time I was 6 months, my father, he hit my mother and caused her to drop me, and it broke my hip. Well, that hip injury caused a trickle effect of other injuries, brittle bones, not developing well, a childhood trauma. I have a permanent disability in my right arm. I was actually sitting on a bike when I was 12 and I fell, and it immediately broke my arm. And because I have issues with my bones, it did not heal properly, and I've had multiple surgeries. But most people don't even know that I can't straighten or bend my right arm. My last surgery, the doctor, he wasn't even sure I was going to be able to write because I'm right-handed, but I was determined to overcome that. I write with my right hand. I still do pretty much the things I want to do. But the trauma, especially being in the vehicle when my father committed this horrible thing, I have a nerve issue in my brain, and unfortunately, there's nothing they really can do. I have random numbness and tingling on the right side of my face at times. The children, when they grow up to be adults, they don't really get it. They don't understand it. They start repeating those cycles and trying to dig their way out and not sure how. And that is why I'm very passionate about sharing my story and very passionate about providing those resources and saying, hey, you can do this. I feel like if I don't do this, I'm letting my mom down. She fought really hard to save me. And I don't want these kids and adults that are probably still struggling with childhood stuff they haven't even dealt with. I want them to break those chains. I want them to break free from that. One of the things I'm very passionate about is talking with young girls and boys saying, hey, this is supposed to be your life. This is normal. If you are feeling abnormal with your body, you have to let your family know. You have to seek medical attention. Don't ignore the signs, especially if you've had childhood trauma, because you can have some effects in your body that will affect you as an adult. I started this journey with Cheryl's Voice, sharing my story. I would give out resources to the Women's Center, One Safe Place, Safe Haven. I partner with Community Frontline, which are an amazing group of guys who does some amazing things in the community. I speak with this organization called The Net. I feel that if an organization is not collaborating with the other organizations around them and providing that those things and encouragement to each other and lifting each other up and saying we're in this for the victims, we're in this for our population, then they're in it for the wrong reasons. And Cheryl's Voice, one, is my mom's name, and I want to make her proud, and I want to hold honor to her. And in doing that, I'm going to be respectful of all of the other colleagues, organizations that are around. I'm going to uplift them. I'm going to do whatever I can to help them be able to continue helping the population that's needed. And I just think that's very important. I think a lot of people get lost in the competition. It shouldn't be about that. It should be about the community, and it should be about the survivors, the victims. My name is LaTasha Jackson-MacDougle, founder and executive director of Cheryl's Voice. Cheryl's Voice is a nonprofit organization providing domestic violence awareness and teen dating violence awareness workshops and education. We want to encourage the youth and adults that you are not alone. There are tons of resources out here in Tarrant County, and we can get you connected with them. I want to encourage you to turn your trauma into your victory, and I encourage you to do that.
That was a great video. I am so glad that I didn't get to see it beforehand. I love, love, love the video. So tonight we are going to be talking about the red flags of dating teen violence. So welcome, LaTasha. I'm so honored that
Thank
you're
you for
here.
having me. Thank you for having me.
So you said that you created the organization because of your mom and all of the abuse that she went through. Like, I just really give honor to your mom and knowing that her voice is being heard now. You know, I'm real big on Hush No More. And so although she didn't always speak up during that time, she's speaking up through you. And I'm so honored and just excited that we can have you here with us today to give voice to Cheryl. And so thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, and my mom was a teen herself. I mean, she was 15 when she got pregnant, got married, and she was killed by 17. So you're talking about someone who really young, fell in love really fast, and just did not know the struggles that she was in. All the way up until she was killed, she really thought that, oh, he's just angry. Oh, it'll get better. A lot of the comments that she made in these police reports that I got was just not aware of the real danger. And so that's really what drives me to educate and talk to teenagers, because I see so many young people who are in these unhealthy relationships and just not sure how they got into it, why they got into it, and even how to fix it, and what is, like you said, red flags. So is ones that happen with a lot of our teenagers who, nowadays, is a lot of the social media bullying. The person is checking their social media. They're taking their phone, checking their phone. If somebody likes their picture, they're asking, who is this person? Who is that person? Why is this person liking that? Red flags all over the place. That is somebody that has a huge problem. It backdoors the old school words of jealousy and possessiveness. It's just on a whole nother level when you attach that with social media. And so a lot of parents need to be talking with their kids about, it's okay to have privacy. The person is not supposed to be going through your phone, asking who you're talking to, asking, only person supposed to be asking that is mom and dad. Who are you talking to? Where are you going? All these questions. That's parents' questions. That's not a relationships question. And I'm not going to, a lot of times, most of the victims are girls. But I will be honest, lately, when I've been talking to a lot of youth, there are a lot of boys who are victims of in teen dating violence situations. And they're definitely are not aware because nobody's really talking about that. And they're, coming into my groups and they're saying, oh, yeah, miss, she took my phone and broke it. And I'm like, whoa, she did what? Or, she got mad at this because this girl said this and this to me. Same thing. It's equal opportunity. Okay. Boys and girls both. Moms, be talking to your boys about what's healthy and not healthy. A girl should not be, asking them who you're talking to and, accusing them of stuff and asking them who they're hanging out with, going through their phone, going through their social media, hacking each other's social medias. All that stuff is considered red flags. Red flags. Another one is
I
going
want to comment
go
on that. Passwords are passwords for a particular reason. And I know tonight that some teens are going to be watching us, so I really do want to talk to them and for parents to share this with their children because it's important. But I've heard kids say, and I don't want to say kids, I want to say teens say, well, because they really love me. They care. They're jealous, right? Mm-hmm. They just a little jealous because, I'm so special to them and they love me. How do you respond to that? Because I hear it all the time and they justify that behavior.
So a lot of that has to do with unresolved childhood trauma. And so parents, if your child is saying that they think that is love, you need to do a self-reflection because something happened, transpired for someone to feel that that is love. And that doesn't mean that it's too late. That means that you need to get into action. Counseling is essential. Dealing with the unresolved stuff, especially in the Black community. We have to stop putting a stigma on counseling. I love counseling. I always tell people, you have to start dealing with your stuff. Because if you don't, you're going to be an adult and you're dealing with crap. And I do a whole separate workshop on adults trying to date. And I have one coming up with, Bumble, talking about safeties of dating. And a lot of times you have a lot of hurt grown people out here who miss that dealing with the childhood trauma. And now they're grown and they're trying to get in these dating relationships. And you're like, what's going on with this person? So parents, if your child is thinking that this person is doing all these negative things that are really, really bad, and they feel like that's love, that's a sign that they really need to be into therapy and really understand what love looks like. And whatever is going on in that home, or it may not be currently in the home, you may be in a great, healthy relationship, but maybe their father was abusive while you were pregnant. A lot of people feel like because the child is really young, they're not affected. And I'm here to tell you that the moment you conceive a child, everything you do in between impacts that child. I repeat that. The moment that you conceive a child, everything that you do impacts that child. And so if you have not addressed anything that was negative in their lives, they're prone to repeat those things as an adult or as a teenager. And so you'll start seeing those things in actions and behaviors. And so that's really what I tell people, is that you can't ignore it. If they feel like that's love, it's not. That's why we're calling them red flags. So they have to be able to identify what love is. And when we talk about teenagers, do they really even know what love is anyway? But they should definitely know that it's not unhealthy.
Yeah, what is not love? And if they don't have a really good example of what love is, what a healthy relationship is, they will think that maybe that is how it's supposed to be,
Exactly.
or go a different route. So thank you for that. Okay, so that's a major red flag. Our social media, right? Our social media, cell phones, the texting.
Right.
Yeah. Major.
That's one of the major ones. Another red flag is someone, and actually I want to touch on this one. I usually have it at the end, but it really needs to go to the front lately. If someone is saying that they're going to, I can't live without you, I will die without you, I'm going to kill myself if we break up, those are things that not only are red flags, but that's something that your child needs to be telling you, or school, or wherever they are as some adult, immediately, because that person who's making those comments needs help immediately. A lot of our mass shootings are from someone who's made those kinds of comments. A lot of our teen and adult homicides are from someone who made those comments. My father made those comments, and in police reports that I've read, he's was kind of practically holding up a sign like, I'm going to die without her. If I can't have my wife, I can't live without. And he was, I'm going to die. I mean, he just kept going on and on. And we are talking back in the 80s. People thought, oh, he's just talking, he's just upset. No one thought it would go to the direction it went. And so we have to take those serious. Please do not take that for granted or lightly. Even if the person, sometimes the person could just be saying that for attention or playing, but you want to be on the safe side. You want to report that, and you want to take action. That is something huge and big. You do not want to be in a relationship or even around someone who is making threats against themselves or anyone else in that matter. So another thing that I also do is work for criminal courts, the domestic violence diversion program. So I work with the abuser who first time being arrested, and now we're trying to be proactive and preventative for them to get the help they need so they do not reoffend. And I actually have a young person on my caseload who was initially arrested for terroristic threats. He told his girlfriend that he was going to kill her grandmother, and her mother. Like he was going to wipe out the whole family. And thankfully, she told a friend, and the friend called and said something is not right, because he had a whole plan on how he was going to do this. And so you have to be cognizant of that. If it's one of your friends, if you hear someone saying something like that, you want to tell someone. You cannot ignore that. You cannot be quiet. Forget the whole snitches, get stitches stuff. This is something real. This is people's lives. it could also impact you and affect you. So please be aware of that. That is another big red flag that you want to look at.
So who should they report to?
So it depends on where they are. So if you're at school, a trusted counselor, principal, if that happens. If you're at home and somebody texts or something like that, you need to go straight to your mom, dad, caregiver, whoever is taking care of you. Those are the people that you need to report to. Some adult. If you're in a place to where there's no adult around, then you need to use your phone and dial 911 and make a report. And the police will come. Doesn't mean the person's going to go to jail and all this other stuff immediately. It just means that they're going to look into that, and if that person needs help, they're going to get the help they need. So you can't ignore it.
Right. Sometimes they're scared to call 911 and the police. But
True.
I tell parents that to talk to your kids about that calling the police is not always a bad thing.
Right. It's not an immediate death sentence as
Right.
some people push. And that's one of the areas that, we have to work on in our community about trusting police. That's a whole nother issue. I mean, because victims have issues with the police as well. Victims can call the police. And sometimes if the police is not really educated on domestic violence, and especially if the guy is well known or maybe a celebrity or something, they may side with the abuser. So that's a whole nother
nother topic, right? But I do want to reinforce that calling the police is not always a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They are there to help you, right?
Right.
That's important.
Right. Absolutely. Another teen dating violence red flag would be some obvious things. So if you are a parent or an educator or someone that interacts with children and you notice a huge change, maybe in the person's attitude, maybe they're dressing totally different. Let's say, she always likes to wear dresses and she's very girly, and all of a sudden she comes in very like jeans and a baggy shirt and very totally different than what she usually dresses like. Pull her to the side and kind of see how things, like what's going on. It could just be a fashion change, or it could be not. It could be boyfriend telling her, I don't want you wearing that dress anymore because I don't want anybody looking at you. And if that's the case, and she says, which usually they will, they'll say, well, yeah, he doesn't like me wearing dresses. Red flag. Pull that person to the side. And I know for me, I work with a lot of youth, and I tell them in a minute, drop that person. Like something's going on with them. They, it's not your job to try to save them or help them. They need to get the help on their own, but you do not need to be attached to something, especially at a young age, that is telling you what to wear and how to dress and how to look. That's not okay. Another one that a lot of our teenagers are, talking about is the conversation. So if the kid gets home and they're getting ready to have dinner with their family and they say, okay, I'll call you back later. And by the time they sit down, their phone, is in the room or whatever. That person has been called them 99,000 times. Literally text and all this stuff. And it's like, I just told you I was with my family. Or you're hanging out with your friends and they're calling you. They want you to, you need to show me proof that you're with this person. All of that. I mean, nobody should be doing that but your parent, really. I mean, let's just be real. Nobody that you're dating should be saying, show me proof you're with who you say you're with. If they can't trust you, which, a lack of trust, that's a red flag. That has nothing to do with you personally. That's something to do with them, and they need to work on whatever it is. But back to that, again, you cannot fix that. You cannot change a person. You cannot make them be secure within themselves and to gain trust and all that. They have to gain that on their own. So if they're doing those types of things, blowing your phone up after you just said that you were with mom and dad or you were with whoever, and they're just kind of constantly calling you and show up where you are and those types of things, red flag.
What I've noticed is they will call using FaceTime or Messenger. Right? That's how they'll call you, so they can automatically see where you are. Somebody shouldn't always call you on video because it's like a way they're just checking up on you. And so I'm saying you do not have to respond via video.
I do have to consider that's how young people, I mean, nowadays, 2021, I won't necessarily say FaceTiming or video chatting is a red flag. I won't say that because a lot of young people, that's kind of like the thing now. texting all the time. Like there's a quiz I give when I do workshops with youth called Healthy Relationship, Healthy Boundaries. And one of the questions is about does a person call and text you all the time? And so I kind of take that with a grain of salt because that's kind of what they do now. It's like they're texting. So I add the component of does it make you uncomfortable? And so if you are uncomfortable with it or you deny the video, like the face, because I'm about to be 38 years old. I don't like doing that video chat all the time. I might not feel like it. Video chat me because you'll get denied. And so if you do that, you deny the person, they get upset, and there's where you get your red flag.
Got it. Because my hair might not be done. I might not be trying to talk to you right now. So but I get it. Love that.
Yeah,
if you feel uncomfortable, that's a red flag. Or if they get mad that you, that's a red flag. Love that.
Right. Then lastly, another big one for you is someone that puts you down. We used to always say, well, treat the girls you're with like you do your mom and your sister. Well, nowadays, they could be disrespectful to their mom and their sister. So that might not be something you want to go by anymore. So basically, not feeling good about what they said. And that's with anybody. And that's not relationship. That's any type of friendship. If somebody is bringing you down and making you low and bad, that's not a healthy situation in a relationship as a whole. I say that because a lot of these young people have friends that are in their circle that are not healthy. And then they end up in these unhealthy relationships. And of course, the unhealthy friend is not going to tell them, oh, that's not good. You shouldn't do that. They're going to try to keep pushing them off the cliff, basically. So you want your circle of people in your life to be positive. You should feel good around them. They should not be pulling you down, making negative comments to you and about you. And so those things are important. And so parents, if you notice a difference in your child's behavior, and then have that open door conversation. I was raised with my grandparents because I was orphaned, and my grandmother was like my best friend. Like I could tell her anything that was going on. And when I say best friend, that respect there, like she didn't play no games. But if, when something was going on or if somebody said something or I wasn't sure about something, I could go to her and say, Granny, what do you think about this? And I did that all the way up until she passed a couple of years ago. I mean, she was my go-to person about life circumstances or something that I wasn't sure about. And so parents, you want your child to feel the same way, to be able to come to you with stuff that they're not sure about, and you give them an honest answer. Don't let them be afraid to come to you about stuff. Because, honestly, my mom kept going through away from my grandparents because back then I can understand it because my grandparents probably would have went all the way bananas, probably in jail. And so I get it. So you got to find a balance is what I want to say, is that you got to find a balance. So your child can come to you about things that's going on and know that you're not going to go all the way left, but still address it, and they can still feel comfortable with you addressing with them.
I love that. I was looking at some stats that said 81% of parents believe that their children would never be dating violence.
And they are super shocked when they find, this past year alone, I've had so many requests from universities like, we have a huge problem, and their parents have no idea that their child is on campus being abused. And that's because they're adults at that point. And so, and they don't have to tell their parents because they have campus people that are helping them, counselors and stuff that they're going to and confiding in. And so these parents are in the dark, not knowing what is going on. And there are tons of boys and girls that are in these unhealthy situations, whether that person is another student or a grown-up that got on campus and started dating this person and being abusive. It is going on, guys. So have that conversation. If especially if you know that, your child didn't really see a lot of healthy situations, healthy relationships, do family therapy. Both of you heal and grow from that so you can be able to break that cycle.
Yeah. Family therapy important because you can't act like it never happened. They saw it, they heard it. And so you have to address that. You can't be like, oh, everything is okay the next day. You have to address it and through counseling and not let the children think that this is a healthy way that you're, and I like that. So I agree that counseling is so important. And a lot of times I'll tell parents, don't tell your kids that you will kill the person you're going to do something so dangerous and vindictive, because then they won't come and talk to you.
Right.
You have to have that conversation. You can't do a fear tactic. And if you've been a fear tactic, come back and try to correct that behavior and talk about, you heard some training, you heard somebody speak, you told them wrong, and that you wouldn't harm somebody that harmed them, because then they will.
Right. And I mean, you don't know. I mean, for example, when I share my story, I always